Today I'm gonna feature a different take on Experimental Frenzy, and that is mixing it with elves. Who knows what could happen. Essentially, this is a red deck wins combined with some elves for some ramp options. From the red package I've taken all the burn cards, shocks, lava coils, bolts, and of course 4 copies of Experimental Frenzy. Now I did stick a single copy of 8 picks of power here just for fun of it. I never really got to use it, but you know, it could be fun to use. From the green package we have some ramp, we have Merfolk Branchwalker. She's mainly here just to dig for more removals and dig out Experimental Frenzy in case I actually don't have one in my starting hand. Of course, getting a 3/2 for 2 mana is also helpful. Next up we have Saproling Migration, mainly for blockers, but I'm also able to cast it with a kicker due to the fact I have some ramp in the form of elves and also have the Branchwalker helping me finding more lands. Then there is the Wildgrowth Walker, obviously an amazing card. Sadly I only had 3 because I spent all my wild cards on, well, interesting stuff that is not very good but is quite fun. Basically I spent it on the Sapling Migration deck. That was a buster. Actually the deck is not bad, but I am getting off topic. Distracted Guide is here as well, just to get more lands, and I don't actually have more than one dual land that is good for green-red, so finding specifically a mountain or a forest is quite important sometimes. Then there is 2 copies of Sprouting Renewal, just here to deal with enchantments, and sometimes having a 2/2 elf can actually help. And finally, there is Sylvan Awakening. This card is mainly seen in folk decks. Sadly I only have a single copy of it, otherwise I would include more, because it is quite relevant to me. Having so many ramp options, I can quite easily bring a lot of lands to the field. Plus, it is quite amusing killing someone with a bunch of lands. They never see it coming, because outside of Fog, no one really plays this card, even though it's not that bad. I could actually see it as a 1 copy of in Golgari just to deal with super long games, and that would actually be quite fun to use. I'm not gonna go and put it in my Golgari deck. The mana base is quite shaky. I only have access to a single copy of Rootborn Crag, so I had to include some Timber Gorge to ensure that the deck could actually function. And because Timber Gorge is not a gate card, I can't even fetch it with the guide, which is quite sad really. Hopefully the next set will include some good green-red cards to give me a reason to actually craft the remaining 3 Rootborn Crags. Anyway, let's go and jump into some gameplay and see how we do. Alright, so sadly the audio file got kinda messed up, so had to mute that. And I also had to do the commentary post game because, well, I was super tired when I actually played this game. So yeah, we're gonna have to do it a bit differently today. Anyway, the hand we're gonna start with is, well, it's quite ideal. We have lots of ramp, we have a single burn spell. I would prefer having like 2 burn spells here. It would help a lot more. And it would really be nice if we draw into an Experimental Frenzy, which of course I do on my second turn. I actually completely forgot about that. I was like super tired when I played this game, so yeah, that can account for me not knowing what's about to happening. Kinda awkward. Anyway, gonna summon another, well, he's not really a ramp creature, but he does fetch lands, which is what I'm looking for right here. Now, interesting enough, he's actually gonna go with a lava coil onto the guide, which is kind of questionable really. Now, I do have almost enough mana to cast the Experimental Frenzy, and I'm also gonna reveal a lightning bolt on top of it with help of the Branchwalker. So right here I have a choice. Do I want to kick the, not kick, but do I want to use the, what do you call it, Sapling Migration here, or do I want to play the Experimental Frenzy? Both okay options. If I play the Experimental Frenzy, I get a huge tempo advantage. However, I see that he is red-blue, and I'm thinking he might have a counterspell. So maybe using the Experimental Frenzy here would be a big mistake, because if I can't draw another one really soon, then I will be all out of options in this game, and I basically will have a bunch of 1/1s. Now he does actually end up being land screwed here on his fourth turn. so he's actually gonna be forced to pass. Now I'm just gonna bolt here because right now I'm thinking now I can use Experimental Frenzy. But again, because he didn't play anything, I'm quite worried about getting counterspelled by something. So instead I'm just gonna summon the Branch Walker in order to bait out a counterspell or something in case he actually has them. Now there we can see the single copy of the Sylvan Awakening, and I'm gonna place it on the top of course because I only have one copy. Now I'm still not quite sure what deck he's playing at this point, but he is gonna be able to do something on this turn if I remember correctly. But yeah, when you play against a control deck and you have a Experimental Frenzy, you really need to play around what they could possibly have. Like, could they have a Spell Pierce or something to deal with something? And in that case, how do you play around it? How do you get your core card into the game without having to throw away it and hope you draw another one? Usually when you play against anything with mass removal and it has a bit of control, what you want to do is just keep summoning creatures and force them to deal with them, and eventually they will either get frustrated and use a board clearer to kill all your small creatures, in which case the next turn you should have enough mana to cast your important spell, or potentially you could just slam it down and hope you draw another one. Now right here we can see he's actually playing Drakes, but because he got land screwed a bit, he is in a bit of trouble. Now I did opt to play Experimental Frenzy right here, and let's see what we're gonna get off the top. The first was a land. Now I have a shock here, and I'm gonna make the decision to go for Phase, because I'm thinking there might be another lightning bolt underneath, and of course there is, just to really tilt him quite a lot. But yeah, that was a bit risky. If I hadn't drawn a lightning bolt right under there, I could potentially have started losing the game right there. Now he goes for Blink of an Eye, which is a huge mistake right here, because I do have that Sylvan card in the hand. So I'm just gonna go Face right here. He's all tapped out, and I know what's on top. It doesn't really matter, because what I'm gonna do right now is quite filthy. He's all tapped out, and I do have my one copy of Sylvan, so we're gonna summon all those happy lands and actually beat him into submission with lands. Yes folks, a Drake deck lost to lands. That is quite amusing, but to be fair, he did get mana screwed quite a bit, so that could probably help with my victory. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that game. Hopefully I will have more options to play it in the future, as well as fine tune it quite a bit, because it does need a bit of work, even though it did work versus a Drake deck, but it was quite mana screwed. Anyway, I'll catch you next time. This is Project signing out.